Hello, this is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. I'm here live to take your U.S. immigration related questions. So go ahead and put your questions in the comments now so I can answer your questions. Go ahead and join me now so we can talk about some questions. I am going to be talking about ways to get legal status here. So there's not just only one way to get legal status. There are multiple ways to be able to get legal status here. I'm going to touch on as many as I can. And one way to help me out, to help me to cover as many types of ways to get your papers here, is to ask those questions. If you are interested in getting your status here, getting legal status here. Hi there, Celia. Hi there on TikTok. Go ahead and let us know so that I can answer those questions for you about how to go about getting your legal papers in certain situations. Hold on there. I'm just trying to set up Instagram so they can join me on Instagram. Oh, okay, let's see. All right, just give me a minute. I'm just trying to sort out a little issue I'm having here. Okay, all right. So go ahead and put those questions in the comments now. So how to get legal? No, before that though, we have a lot of updates to go over. Hi there. Don't you think it's a long time if it takes 9 months to file a T visa? So it depends on the case. So if now a lot of people have the misconception that a T visa is filling out applications and filing it. However, the T visa is it's a type of application that involves multiple pieces. And in order to be able to prove the case, you have to be able to put that case together to show the trafficking, especially where the client may not remember a lot, or there may be a lot of issues to sort through, or there's a lot of collaboration that needs to be going on. I would say with the T visa, it really depends because it's an extremely complex type of case and it has multiple pieces to it. And then in addition to that, we have to think about the client and what is the client providing and not providing. So I would say 9 months, it just depends on what's going on in the case. How long for receipt and EAD filed in March? So you're looking at about 2 to 8 weeks for a receipt notice. Right now it's a very busy time, so I would say more on the 8 week then. But here now, do have stat updates about what's going on in immigration as well. So while you put your questions in, I'm going to talk to you about that. We are expecting travel bans to come back. So if you remember that we called that the Muslim ban the last time, but in the last part of the Trump administration, they had even extended to countries that didn't necessarily involve any kind of a majority Muslim or Islam community. So, for example, Nigeria faced a ban in the last travel ban that was implemented in 2020. So we're going to expect the travel ban to come back. We don't know the details of the travel ban, but I can tell you before they did ban those. So under the second travel ban in 2020, they banned certain countries, the citizens of those countries, from applying for the green card. So applying for the immigrant visas. Students could come in, temporary visitors could come in, but anybody who was applying for permanent residence through the immigrant visa, they were barred, and Nigeria was one of them. Now, under the new travel ban, we can expect these countries to be banned: Sudan, Venezuela, Somalia, Syria, Yemen, Iran, Libya, Cuba, North Korea, Pakistan, and Afghanistan. So we are going to see the repercussions of that, and we'll have to just look out for when they update, provide us the actual text so we can review that. The other thing to keep in mind here is we are seeing, and if you've watched the news, you've seen it as well, the arrest of the Palestinian supporter who was going to Columbia University. He is a green card holder, and he was arrested for basically protesting, for being very outright and clear on his religious beliefs. He's detained, and they want to deport him on that basis alone. However, and I'm pretty sure any attorney, any immigration attorney, any attorney for that matter, would see that this is a clear violation of his First Amendment rights, because everybody has freedom of speech here in the United States, and you cannot deport a green card holder for simply speaking their mind. Based on what I've seen, there were no arrests. There were no arrests. There were no immigration violations. What they are saying is that he's a national security threat, but they're saying he's a national security threat not on based on solid evidence, but based on his speech, what he has expressed, which is protected. What he has expressed is what millions of people in the United States are also expressing. There have been protests all over the country. There have been boycotts all over the country based on what is happening in Gaza. And he was expressing those views. He was partaking in protests, which protest is also protected by the First Amendment, and he's being detained. I do think he has a solid case here to win and be released from detention, but this doesn't make it any less disturbing and nerve-wracking, not only because it shows that the Trump administration they're going after undocumented immigrants, but they're also going after legal immigrants. We're seeing a pattern like this, where they're going after, well, this now shows and proves that they are going to go after green card holders, and they're going to be a lot more aggressive with any kind of removal proceedings. You know, the nerve-wracking part about removing an permanent resident is that they can always issue a notice to appear, even if it's not going to meet this muster, right? Meet the standard. They can always issue it. That can mean harassing a green card holder or legal immigrants, because by getting a notice to appear, now they have to defend themselves in court, and that is very stressful. They have to hire an attorney if they want to have a good outcome here, because it's complicated, and going through the court process, they have to navigate procedural requirements in the court. So that makes it more stressful, and then also just having to deal with the uncertainty of this, because at the end of the day, the judge makes the decision and it's based on the strength of the arguments. But this is what's happening, right? Is that now, and I did see it during the last administration, green card holders who, for example, if they had something in their background or they found a discrepancy in their application, they were usually denied the citizenship and instead issued a notice to appear. So they are going to get a lot more aggressive. And this very public case where this pro-Palestinian University of Columbia student was arrested is definitely a showing of the fact that they don't really care. They're going to test the waters and try to harass and try to, make green card holders and legal immigrants face consequences, even if those consequences aren't warranted. Exactly. So this is crazy. This violates the freedom of speech and press free. Yes, absolutely. That is really the main thing here is that he's not deportable. An immigrant, a permanent resident, has to be deportable. And freely expressing speech is not a deportable offense. So um, we'll have to keep an eye on that, but this is disturbing just because it shows the pattern that we may see more and more. President Trump did say he was not going to be the first, he wasn't going to be the last that was arrested. So we're going to be seeing, we may see a lot of that going forward, and they have to go defend themselves. And that can be traumatic for the green card holder and their families, can be stressful. It can be financially devastating because they have to hire attorneys to navigate these waters. Yeah. So, oh, thank you, it's Justice. All right. So with that being said, those are the main changes. But let's leading into, so freedom of speech is leading into another thing that you have to look for. That is um, extreme vetting that's coming, right? Extreme vetting, the administration is going to know, they have proposed, it's out there right now, they have proposed, before they're going to approve all immigrants who are applying for their status, they're now going to review their social media accounts, and they're trying to make this a part of the regular process. So that means that they are going to look in your social media for anything that can make you deportable, and or that can lead to them denying you. They are these are about 3.5 million immigrants that they have to go through their social media accounts, which, guys, what you know what that means? Longer processing times, because it's going to take, they're going to have to dedicate staff members to now go into people's social media accounts to review their accounts. Keep in mind, it takes 9 to 12 months on average for some work permits to come through, right? And it takes them 15 minutes to review a work permit application, but yet it takes 9 to 12 months for an individual to get their work permit. So can you imagine them? They're firing a ton of people. They've already fired 400, and I'm pretty sure that's not the end of it. And now they're going to add the extra burden and extra time of reviewing 3.5 million immigrants' social media accounts. Now, what are they looking for? Just like we've seen with the arrest of the permanent resident who was advocating for Gaza and what is happening in Gaza, we are going to see them holding anything spoken anti-American, anything spoken that they don't believe should be spoken out in public, like, for example, the Gaza ordeal that's happening. They are going to then say this is either a national security threat, or they're going to say this is anti-American. It's not in a line or aligned with American values and beliefs. And they will deny the visas, deny the, possibly even try to deny the green card on that basis. So it's based on ideological analysis that they're saying that they want to try to deny people's applications. Now, freedom of speech has never been something that has been attacked in the immigration process. But with this social media review, we're going to start seeing where they're going to hold certain postings against immigrants. So there are a number of concerns here. The one is, say, for example, I don't update things like marital status. I don't update those things on my social media accounts. Maybe at one point I did, but I didn't update it. I haven't updated it, right? So say my status says married, and since then I've been divorced, right? Say years later I'm divorced, and now you're applying for a VAWA, and they check out and VAWA as a divorced person, and now they are evaluating your social media account and they see married, but you're applying as a divorced person. That's then can raise some concerns on their part. That's either going to lead to more in-depth investigation into your background, into your marital status, maybe RFEs asking you to provide a history of all your your marriages in the past. They can possibly accuse you of misrepresentation, depending based on the fact that you put married, but now you're divorced. You never updated it, right? Those are the kinds of the concerns here. Is that they will see. Sometimes people make up stuff on social media, right? Sometimes you have fake names, fake facts. You know, some people will say, for work, I work at Hard Knock Life, right? They as a joke. These things can now be held against immigrants while they're applying, or it can delay the process because now they're doing a whole fraud investigation, or they're just going down a rabbit hole trying to figure out why your social media says one thing and your application says another thing. So that's one thing. The other thing is the concern is your freedom of speech, right? Now, keep in mind that once you're outside of the United States applying for a visa, you do not have the constitutional rights to freedom of speech, right? They have very, very broad discretion to deny your application. And they don't have to justify, it on the basis of the Constitution. And so they can look at your postings. Maybe you live outside of the United States and you have talked about your support for Palestine, right? And now they're going to look at your expression of support as possibly national security, just like they have done with the permanent resident here. This is not saying that this is correct. This is definitely going to be challenged. But when you're outside of the United States applying for a visa, then they can start to use that standard to say, well, we see a possible national security threat based on your expressed support of Palestine. So similar things like that, if ideologically, okay, let's look at DEI. Say, for example, you express your views on DEI, maybe that could possibly be used to say that you don't meet the ideological standards of the United States. So, in other words, whatever you say can possibly be used against you on social media based on what they're saying, based on what they want to do. They want to look at your social media and see if they can spot anything that goes against, American values and American beliefs. So keep that in mind. That is coming, and they want to do this for every single immigrant, whether you're here in the United States, whether you're outside of the United States. They're going to start reviewing social media accounts. So yeah, so be ready for that. All right, so now I'm here to talk about how to get legal status. So go ahead and put what I want you to do, because people usually say, how do I get a work permit? How do I get a green card? There are so many ways. There are over 20 ways to get a green card. Over 20, right? Ways to get a green card. I can't possibly cover all of that in this live. But what I do want to do is answer your questions about ways that you can get legal status. So when I say legal status here, I mean get your work permit, get permission to be here, get your residence, get a work visa to come into the United States. So if you have any questions like that, go ahead and put them in the comments related to that. So I'm going to ask you to ask me questions related to that so I can cover those topics for you today. Um, And by the way, just while we're doing the live on TikTok, go ahead, tap the screen, share the live so that other people can see the information and be empowered through the immigration process as well. So go ahead and do that and tap the screen as many times as possible so that other people can see this information. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to start on TikTok and then I'm going to head on over here to Facebook and YouTube. So hang tight, everybody. I'm coming. Okay, let's see. Can I file a VAWA if I found out my husband did a second marriage? So yes, absolutely. So VAWA is one way to get legal status while you're here in the United States, even if you are here without your papers. Now, if you have a U.S. citizen spouse, as I assume you have here, or permanent resident spouse, or if you're the son or daughter under 21 and unmarried of a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident, or you are the parent of a citizen and that citizen is age 21 or older and you have been mistreated, then you can qualify for the ability to get your green card on your own in a confidential process called we call it VAWA. So now one of the basis to apply for VAWA is if your spouse got married, so was married at the time you got married, or yes, in this case, you're legally married and they go marry somebody else knowing they're legally married to you. Uh, you can definitely, now keep in mind, if you both were separated, there was no mistreatment, you married him first, then you got separated, you didn't really care what was happening, then he got into a second marriage, that's a different story. But if you're married and then that spouse goes and knowingly marries somebody else, knowing they have you there as a first spouse, that's definitely abusive and can qualify you for VAWA. Same as if they knew they were married and then they never told you they were already married and then got married to you, you're thinking this is a valid marriage and then later on find out no, this was not the case. They were actually married before. You can apply for VAWA on that basis as well. Did my biometrics September 2023, no work permit yet, marriage base. Oh wow, that's a long time. Yeah. So definitely you need to check in to find out at least why you haven't gotten the work permit. If you file for the work permit from September 2023, you probably have passed the processing time to get the work permit. On average, the work permit is about 3 to 6 months. Of course, you have to go to USCIS website, look at their average processing time. And if it passes the average processing time, you have to submit a case inquiry. And that sometimes can nudge them to be able to provide you the work permit, right? But when they find out, oh my gosh, it's been a while, you may have to do that multiple times to be able to get the work permit. So they usually give 30 days to respond to your inquiry. And then if they don't respond in 30 days, you have to try again in order to get that pushed along. Because yes, if you applied in, that is, over a year and some months. So you would definitely need to check on that. Hey girl, how long does it take for you to get a T visa, also a work permit? So the T visa, once it's filed, I would say it takes about 12 to 18 months. Based on, here's what my outlook is. I'm hoping not, but I do believe that processing times are going to get longer just because of the procedural hurdles that are being put in place. For example, this policy to now evaluate each and every immigrant's social media account is definitely going to add time to the processing. But right now, the processing time I'm seeing is 12 to 18 months. You do get your work permit at the same time. And since I'm highlighting ways to get legal status, I talked about VAWA. Let's talk about the T visa. If you're being mistreated by if you're being mistreated by anybody, right? But that they're mistreating you to get you to comply with their demands, to work, to do things for them, to do tasks for them that you would ordinarily not agree to, then that means that you are possibly in a situation of what called trafficking, and you can qualify for a T visa. I'll give us a couple of examples. If you went to get a job, doesn't matter if you were here for a long time, if you're outside of the United States, an employer, somehow you got a job and you agreed to certain terms. You agreed to get $500 a week, to work 30 hours a week, and you agreed to very specific tasks. You agreed to say only take care of one elderly person. And based on all of that, and say in addition to that, the employer says, and listen, if you work for me, I can get you your work permit, I can get you your green card. They don't always make those promises, but let's put that there because every case is different. But this is an example. And you agree, you say, oh, this is great, I'll definitely take this job. Then you go to the job that where you are assigned to take care of the elderly person. You get there and it's not just one person you have to take care of, it's two. It's maybe a married couple and both of them have very serious medical problems that you have to deal with. So you have to take care of both of them. You never agreed to do that, but now here you are in this situation where you're already there. They've lured you into that situation. And, oftentimes I'll hear feedback like, I didn't have any money at that point. I invested everything I had to fly across the country to take this job. I was already there. Sometimes it's a live-in job and you're unable to just leave now because you maybe gave up your other place because you were being given a living job. So at that point, you have two people to take care of. You're not being paid more. You're still being paid 500. But no, you're there and you realize there's nobody there to provide relief to you. So instead of working 30 hours a week, you're working 24 hours a day. You have to get up at night, then you have to get up in the morning. You are working around the clock to take care of this couple, right? Because they're vulnerable. And you're in a situation where maybe you speak up, you talk to your employer, and they either disregard you or they tell you you have no choice because you don't have any papers. Then maybe you start to bring up these things. Well, I agree to $500 a week to take care of one patient or one person for 30 hours a week, but I'm not working 30 hours a week. I'm working around the clock and I'm not getting overtime. And then they say to you, well, you don't have your papers, so what? You have to take this, or where are you going to go? Or they go as far as to threaten you and say they're going to get you deported if you leave, or they tell you you're going to get into trouble if you walk off the job, right? Because these are vulnerable people that if you leave them without getting relief, you could be charged with negligence. You could be charged with elderly abuse. I mean, it depends on the state laws, but I have seen things like this happen. We've all seen it in the news where caretakers leave the elderly and they get into trouble for it. And there's certain standards as a caretaker that you have to meet. So feel trapped in this situation. You're not getting paid the amount you were promised. I mean, you're getting 500, but now you have two people, you have way more work. And say on top of that, you're doing the housework, you're doing the laundry, you're cleaning the house, you're sweeping, you're mopping, you're cooking their meals, right? And then here's the other thing, they don't pay you on time. Now you're stuck without your pay for a day late, weeks late. And then when you get your pay, there are deductions from the pay that can't be explained, or they're not justified, or you were never told about them. This, my friends, is an example of labor trafficking. This is what my clients get approved for, right? Because they are lured into a situation where they are trapped and they're not given the terms that they're living under really harsh conditions and not being paid the right amount that they were promised. That's labor trafficking by fraud mainly. And the minute they start talking about your immigration status, the fact you don't have any choice, that's coercion. So those individuals are being trafficked by fraud and coercion. I know as a matter of fact that many individuals are going through this right now, and you are watching me right now. I know it because I see this, and I've gotten T status for my clients that have been through this very horrific working conditions unwillingly. So that's an example of the T visa. So if you're going through a situation like this, then it's time to give us a call. Same with the VAWA. So that's one way to get your status. Once you're approved for T visa, you get your 4-year work permit and you get the ability to apply for your green card. While you're going through the T visa, you also get what's called a bona fide determination letter that protects you from any kind of removal. So it gives you a certain level of protection, and we're getting that within 70 to 90 days after we apply for our clients. All right. My I-765 is approved. What's next? So it depends on your process, but typically once you get the I-765, the next step is usually the decision in your case. So it's a waiting game right now. Can I file a VAWA if I found out my husband did a second marriage? So we just talked about that. I have a shoplifting misdemeanor charge 22 years ago. Want to apply for citizenship? Is it a good idea? No, whenever it comes to criminal offenses, I would say it's time to give us a call and let's talk about it. Shoplifting is not normally seen as a crime involving moral turpitude. However, we do have the Laken Riley Act in place. The Laken Riley Act does now find any kind of offenses, theft offenses, as minor as shoplifting to be qualified for detention and deportation. So, what we have to do is we have to evaluate your case to determine whether anything like that can affect you as going from a green card holder to a citizen. Under normal circumstances, shoplifting is not, and we have to look at the state statute at the same time, but shoplifting is not seen as a crime that reflects on your moral character usually. And 22 years ago is very long ago. So they shouldn't be holding it against you in your citizenship case. But we want to know more. We need to know more. Have you ever had any other issues in your immigration history, recent issues that can create problems for citizenship? We do represent our clients through citizenship. So just give us a call. Let us know you're ready to do citizenship. Schedule the appointment with us, and then we can help you to navigate it. I would say, we need to advise you, but shoplifting 22 years ago may not affect your ability to get citizenship. I have a pending N400 since September last year, but now I don't even know where I stand. So your case should still be going forward, but keep in mind, I don't know what your background is. So this is where you give us a call, talk to us to see if there's anything you are concerned about. Did you go to the interview? Did you do the test? Did you pass the test? Is it that they're not issuing, a decision after an interview? Is it that you haven't had a decision yet? It may just be a waiting game. When I practiced during the Trump administration, citizenship went from 6 months to 18 months. So, we may see longer times as well. Can I travel international with my expired 2-year green card and an I-747 form at this time? So what I like to hear is if you have that 48-month extension that's still valid, then that is what it's there for. The 48-month extension is usually on the I-797 notice of action. So that's what the 747, I haven't seen that. So I know the I-979, 797 notice of action. If the 48-month extension is there, make sure you carry your original with you along with the expired green card. However, keep in mind, I'm not your attorney and I can't give you personalized legal advice. But what I can say here is, be very conservative about travel right now, just because, um, as I said before, even legal immigrants are being scrutinized. So coming back into the country, you might go through secondary inspection, which can be stressful. And they can ask you questions. They can check your case status. And if, Lord forbid, you're outside of the country and it's denied while you're outside of the country, that can lead to you getting you're supposed to get a notice to appear in court. So they're not supposed to just turn you around and put you back on a plane and send you back. You're supposed to go through a court appearance then to defend your permanent residence. But to avoid those, I am generally, as an attorney, I am saying be very mindful of the risk and be conservative yourself about the need to travel. If you don't need to travel, don't. If you can vacation within the country right now, vacation within the country. So just think about that. Could you please explain a little about family petition sponsors? Thank you. Okay, so this is another way you can get legal status here in the United States. It is through family. Now, a lot of people get confused between the faster process, which is being the son or daughter, the child of a US citizen who is under 21 and unmarried. You are the spouse of a US citizen, or you're the parent of a US citizen, and that US citizen is age 21 or older. That is called being the immediate relative of a US citizen, and it is the fastest way to get the green card through even if you're outside of the US, if you're inside of the US, it's the fastest way. Now, if you are if you're not in that category, if you cannot relate to any of those categories, it means that you are going to fall into other categories that takes much longer. So one of the number one questions and issues I get is, I am 21, I'm over 21, so I'm 39 years old. I've been here for 12 months. I overstayed my visa. I'm waiting for the petition to be decided to get my green card. That person is probably in a lot of problems in immigration and they don't even know it. The reason being that person overstayed, and the petition that's being filed will not lead to their green card directly. That petition that was filed, it just says you qualify for your green card through a family member. Then the next step is to wait for your priority date to become current. So it's sort of like taking, if you've ever gone to a bank, so I remember my days, I don't know if it's the same, but when I went to the bank in Jamaica, we used to take a number and then we had to wait for the number to be called to see a banker. And we see that at the DMV right now, right, where you take a number and then you wait for your number to be called. After your petition is approved, you have to do the same thing. You're assigned a number. That number is called your priority date, the date that you submitted that the application was received by immigration. And you're going to wait for them to basically announce the number, the date, through the national visa bulletin. The problem here is that once you're outside of being the immediate relative of a US citizen, you're looking at a minimum, well, you're looking at anywhere from 2 years, 3 years to 20 something years, depending on the category you fall in. So, say you're the spouse of a permanent resident. If you're the spouse of a permanent resident, you have to wait for that number. And right now, I would say it's taking about, it's not too bad. It's taking about 6 months to a year to get that priority date current. And so we are seeing it shorter, might get longer. But what I say, it gets longer. The more people that apply in that category, the longer it gets. So apply now. If you're the spouse of a permanent resident, you're the child of a permanent resident, apply now, because the if you wait too long, you're going to end up at the bottom of the list. So that's my tip there. But that one, I would say, it waiting for that to become current is taking about a year, right? So the entire process. So now when it becomes current, they start to process you. If you're outside of the United States, they start to process you for your immigrant visa. It takes a while to get to the interview. So I would say 1.5 years to 2 years to get to the interview. So total, you're looking at about 3 years. Then, if you are in another category where you're the son or daughter of a permanent resident, you're 21 or older, you're looking at 5 to 7 years. If you are the married son or daughter of a US citizen, you're looking at 12 years. If you are the sibling of a US citizen and that US citizen is 21 or older, you're looking at 14 years at minimum. In some countries like Mexico, it's over 2 decades, over 20 years to get your papers. And by the way, to wait for that number to become current, that does not even account for the time you have to wait for the interview. So that in a nutshell is the process. You have to apply for a special petition first if you're here in the United States and a priority date applies to you and the priority date is current. That means once again, you're at the top of the wait list, your number is ready to be called, then you can do adjustment of status here. But all the conditions have to be right. The timing has to be right. So this is where I say, before you make any decisions about what you're going to do, don't just file a petition and think that's going to fix everything. Please make sure you contact us and let's talk through it so you understand the repercussions. Because a lot of time people file family petitions, they overstay thinking they're fine. Then they find out no, that they can't get their green card through the process because they did something wrong that no, they don't qualify for the green card anymore. So in family petitions, please make sure you get in touch with us and we can advise you. But that's in a nutshell how you get your status through family. My spouse is a green card holder. I came to the US on a visa and I overstayed. Can she file for me? So this is definitely goes to what I said before. Your green card holder can file the petition proving your marriage, proving it's bona fide. That will probably be approved once you submit the right documents. But guess what? Now, to get the actual green card, you have to apply for adjustment of status. And applying for the adjustment of status means that as the spouse of a green card holder, you have to meet those very specific conditions. You can't overstay your visa. Your priority date has to become current. So I can tell just based on this that you overstayed. So there's no qualifying for adjustment of status on that basis, being the spouse of a green card holder. And then the other thing is if you apply now, the priority date isn't current. So you still have to wait for the priority date to become current. But because you overstayed, you can't fix that to apply for adjustment of status. But the way you have to fix this now is your spouse has to become a US citizen. But here's the other thing. I don't know what the situation is, but I like to go back to VAWA. If your spouse is not applying for you because they are mistreating you, or that is a part of the mistreatment, then you can qualify to apply for VAWA. Now, the difference between being married to a green card holder and overstaying is there's no way to adjustment of status. If your spouse is mistreating you and that's the reason why they never applied for your petition, then you can stay here, apply for VAWA, and when your party date becomes current, then you can do adjustment of status without leaving the US. So it is still an option. I say apply now because my clients who have been in this situation, they now have their work permits and are on their way to the green card because they went through the two-step process with me and they're able to stay here. So give us a call if you're going through a similar situation. But if you're married, everything is good, they're not mistreating you, your spouse has to get US citizenship first so you can apply for adjustment of status while being in the US. Can you get married if you enter the US legal but your visa got revoked? So I am not sure how you ended up getting into the country legally but with a revoked visa. Those two are contradictory. If your visa was revoked in the past, then you somehow got a visa to enter, or you were given another kind of permission to enter, then that's possible. But I'd have to understand the facts here to be able to be more specific about that. I got multiple DUIs, time for renewal. How is it working in this case? Get in touch with us. Let's talk about it. Multiple DUIs, it may, we would have to look to see, do they amount to moral turpitude, crimes involving moral turpitude? If so, it could possibly affect your renewal. Can you get deported if you have an expunged record? Yes. Keep in mind that, no, keep in mind, expungement of an arrest, it doesn't mean a conviction, but expungement of a conviction, you still have to disclose to immigration. And they independently have to decide whether it's a crime that can make you deportable. So get in touch with us. Anytime criminal issues come in, it's really on a case by case basis. Hang tight on YouTube, please, and Facebook. I'm answering as many questions as I can. So please hang tight as I make my way to you. Thanks so much for your patience. Can you give us some updates on the EAD? It depends on context. I need more context. Right now, nothing really has changed. But at the same time, I could be talking right now and something changes. So you ask me a more specific question about EAD and I maybe can answer. What if you get 2 questions wrong in your marriage-based interview? It still can be detrimental. Yes, absolutely. It can still be detrimental. They can still send a notice of intent to deny. As a matter of fact, I would say 2 questions wrong is too many. That's how stringent they are with the marriage-based interview. Sometimes they make the final decision based on a contradiction in the questions. Good day. How can I get a work visa when I used a tourist visa to enter the US? So it depends. Now you came on a tourist visa. But when you came, were you being recruited by an employer? You're not supposed to work on that tourist visa. But has an employer recruited you? Are they offering to give you a work visa? That is how you're going to get to the work visa. An employer has to sponsor you, and it depends on your qualifications. Do you have a degree or a specialty occupation that qualifies you for the H-1B? Do you qualify for H-2B? Do you qualify for H-2A? Do you qualify for a green card, visa, like a EB1 visa, EB2 visa, EB3 visa? Those though require employers to sponsor you. So getting a work visa is going to depend on a number of factors. So this is where, in cases where an employer is sponsoring you, we can definitely advise you on what to expect, but we really would not be able to get in depth unless we actually are talking to the employer and advising the employer. What if you get 2 questions? Okay, so I answered that. How long will it take to close removal proceedings after submit PD in New York, VAWA approved. So it can take a couple of months. So I've seen it in as little as 3 months, and I've seen it as long as a year. So it just depends. And right now, I can bet they're very busy. So and they're gonna be a lot less. Now your vow is approved, which means it puts you in a very, very, very good position to have your case terminated. But in most cases, they're going to be a lot more picky about doing terminations. Now, make sure you're sharing, make sure you're tapping on the screen so people can see the live and they can learn more information that can empower them through the process. And that's on TikTok, by the way. About how long is AOS taking right now? So it depends on what type, but I would say on average, a year to year and a half. Is it best to get E2 investment visa if denied a green card? So it depends on the reason you were denied the green card. If you can change status quickly to get the E2 status, maybe, but this definitely is going to call for us to talk to you more. Now, the E2 treaty investor visa is a type of visa that's granted to certain individuals who are citizens of very specific countries on a certain list. So, for example, Jamaica, Trinidad are on that list where if you want to come to the US and invest, basically start a business, invest in a business, you have to have majority ownership of the business, and for it to be like a Jamaican business or a Jamaican owned business, right? Or owned by the citizen of that country. And then you have to go ahead and show that you are going to, you're here for the purpose of investing in that business. You then have to show that when you do invest in the business and that business is making money, that is not just a marginal amount or it's not just a marginal investment that you're making. You're going to make a reasonable living on that, and not just for yourself, but also extends to growth and employees and additional business opportunities over time. So it's called the E2 Treaty Investor Visa, and it is a good way for you to either change your status, going from a type of visa here to this status where you get to stay here legally on the E2 Treaty Investor Visa. Or you can do it at the embassy and go to the embassy interview and showcase your investment. So investment just doesn't mean money in the bank, but it means that they're definitely using your money to take steps to invest in the business. You don't have to start the business, but you have to show how you are investing or planning to invest and how you have the means to invest in the business here in the United States. So that's called the E2 Treaty Investor Visa, and it's another way to gain either change your status here, which changing your status here does have its pros and cons that you should know about. So that's where you need to get in touch with us. Let's talk you through it. There are the pros and the cons, but you get the visa at the embassy as well. It can be a shorter period of time to wait at the embassy versus doing it here. This change of status may take a while. And then you can't travel. You have to stay in the US with that change of status. Can someone adjust status on a visitor visa from a green card holder? On a visitor's visa to a green card holder, yes, but you have to qualify through family, through humanitarian means, through investment. So it just depends on how do you qualify. All right. So now I'm moving on to YouTube, Facebook. Hello, good day. Hi there, KK. So I already answered your question. And the question is it takes a very long 9 months to file a T visa? T visa is a very complicated application. And I think the common perception is that immigration is just filling out forms. With the T visa, we actually, just like a prosecuting attorney has to build a case in order to prosecute someone. The T visa is similar. We're not prosecuting anybody here, but what we're doing is we have to be able to gather all the documents and all the information we need to be able to help our clients show that they qualify for this. But this is not just gathering information from clients, but also gathering it from other agencies, other organizations that are working with us to be able to build our client's case. 9 months is definitely a long time, but it may be necessary. But in most cases, I would say it takes a few months, maybe 2 months to file. But in some cases, it has taken longer, just depending on the complexity of the client's case and the extent to which the number of steps we have to take to be able to put a very good application together for our clients. My son's petition as approved marriage based, but now they sent me RFE for public charge. What does that mean? So the public charge, so when we're going through a family-based petition, so here, let's see. So my son's petition as approved marriage-based, but now they sent me an RFE for public charge. So I'm not sure, because you said my son, but it's an approved marriage-based. So I'm not sure the dynamics here. Who's the sponsor? Who's the immigrant here? Because it's marriage-based and I'm seeing son. But usually an RFE for public charge right now, the public charge just means, do you as the petitioner or the sponsor have sufficient income to be able to support the immigrant that you're petitioning? You have to submit an I-864 and supporting documents such as tax returns and income information like pay stubs to prove the income. If that hasn't been sufficiently proven, or the documents show that the income isn't enough, then you'll get an RFE to be able to supply. So either they're giving you a chance to prove that you do qualify and you're not a public charge. If you can't prove that you meet income requirements, and the immigrant is going to be found inadmissible based on the risk of them being a public charge. So that's what that's about. It's very important. They will not approve your application without a sufficient response to this public charge RFE. What I say is get in touch with us so we can definitely talk to you about the process. My husband is in Ghana. I and my daughter's household member together are sponsoring my husband. He's not gotten a green card or visa interview, approved I-824 and I-130. So yeah, the interview is taking a while. So you can see anywhere from a year and a half to 2 years wait time. That's what I'm seeing on average. In the cases I've taken around the world, we've had to waste a year and a half to 2 years for an interview so far. How long for receipt and EAD? Filed in March. So EAD, and it's a T visa. So keep in mind that EAD comes after a bona fide determination, and we're not seeing a lot of EADs coming from the bona fides yet. So I have yet to have feedback on the average processing times. My prediction is the bona fide determination letter is coming 2 to 3 months after filing. And then after that is when they process the EAD, and you could expect another 3 to 6 months for that. So, that's the situation there. The good news is the bona fide determination letter does provide some protection. So you should take that with you anywhere you go. If my insurance is covered under California, will that affect my application on petitioning my partner? No. So right now, your insurance shouldn't affect anything. I want to know. I want to know about students. Are you dealing with students who have overstays but still in university but need to know their status? So it depends. If you've overstayed and you want to figure out a legal way to fix that situation, get in touch with us and we can find out what the situation is and see if there are any options. Right now, we are offering free initial evaluation. So what that means is you call and we go through our case types that we help our clients with. We go do an evaluation to see if you could possibly qualify for one of those because we don't want to waste your time. We don't want to waste your money. Once we determine that, yes, you qualify for something that we can help you with, then we go ahead and we schedule the appointment to start jumping on strategy, right? We get more detail from you as the attorneys here. So you would then set an appointment with the attorneys. And right now we're offering it at a discounted rate. It was 250, but we're offering it at a discounted rate of 150 to do the consult to talk about strategy in your case. Once you go through the initial evaluation, we determine that there is so it looks like there's something we can help you with, then we start to talk about that in more depth. So get in touch with us. Hi there, Karen. It's nice to see you. Hi there, Jill. Nice to see you. Yes, absolutely. USCIS already approved our I-130 and we're currently processing our I-864. But I'm cornered that since my insurance is under covered California, will that consider as government assistance? So if you now, are you an immigrant? Because it sounds like you're petitioning. They're not looking at what you're getting, right? They're just looking at your income. What they are looking at though is the immigrant. So if the immigrant is covered under certain public assistance, then that is going to get more scrutiny. The current rule, so based on my last review of the public charge policies that I do anticipate they're going to change, is they don't look at Medicaid as something that will automatically render you a public charge. But keep in mind that I'm pretty sure that's going to change because they did have a policy in place in the last Trump administration that's probably coming back. Some in the next few weeks to months, we might hear about it. But for now, it is you as the petitioner having uh, government like Medicaid or that's okay because you are the petitioner, likely a U.S. citizen. Um, but for the immigrant, as long as they don't have that, then it shouldn't be a problem. My wife filed for my son on petition, get approved, but they send me RFE for I-485, which is public charge rule. So definitely get in touch with us and we can help you know. This is where I say the stakes are very high right now because what they're saying is with every case, family-based case, marriage-based cases, humanitarian-based, every single case, they are now going to, if they issue a denial, they're going to issue a notice to appear to defend yourself in court against deportation. So the stakes are very high, and this is one of the biggest ways that people are, the most common ways people are denied are the mistakes on the affidavit of support and mistakes on proving the relationship. So the stakes are much higher. Doesn't matter what kind of application you're applying for, make sure you have legal guidance from the start because messing up could mean just automatically your situation will get more complicated. So have you gotten any work permit approvals after bona fide determination? So those, we're still waiting on those. We haven't gotten many of those. So I can't give you a definitive estimate on the processing time on that. So we're still waiting. We've gotten many bona fide determination approvals, which means that the next step is approvals for the work permit. And also, what is great about the bona fide determination letter is, oh, it clearly states that any kind of immigration enforcement is now put on hold because there's a bona fide determination. So it does offer protection. And I'm telling my clients to take that with them everywhere so that they can show it if they do get stopped. Good evening. I have a 10-year green card through VAWA. Can I get married to my American boyfriend? I can't tell you, whether or not you can because you're not my client. You are free to get married. That's not to say you can't get married. But at the same time, we always want to know, as the attorney, we always want to know your facts to be able to tell you, whether there are any risk factors involved in you getting married. So this is where you definitely have to turn back, consult with an attorney to make sure that it's the right move, because you don't want a situation where you get married to your American boyfriend and then somehow you're going for citizenship and something slaps you in the face during the naturalization process. So get in touch with us and let's talk. How can my spouse come to USA temporarily to visit while he waits on his I-864 and I-864A? So, if they have their visa, they can, but keep in mind he cannot come in temporarily. Those two contradict, right? He cannot come in temporarily and be going through a green card process. They're gonna say he's at risk for he's at risk for staying permanently. So be very careful, because I've seen people coming in and they have an American spouse and they end up turning them back around. Pretty sure we're going to see more of that because they say, you have a spouse here, you have a pending process. Looks like you're coming to stay, so we're going to turn you around. The problem is once they turn them around, and it's categorized as expedited removal, they're barred for 5 years. So we might see a lot more of that happening. So just be very careful and strategic. Get an attorney. How long for VAWA start to finish? So I would say start to finish 3 years to get your green card. So 3 years, 3.5 years to get to the green card. For the VAWA, I would say 2.5 to 3 years for the petition to be approved and for you to get official protection. In the meantime, when you're applying for VAWA along with adjustment of status, you do get a work permit and protection. You get your prima facie letter. All of those are good, and you get those within the first year of applying. So you get protection. I'm a citizen and I take SSI. Can that affect me? Not for right now. No, not during the citizenship process. And you're a citizen, so no, absolutely not. You're okay. Citizen getting SSI, that's fine. How long do you take to prepare T visas for filing? So it depends. It depends on the complexity of the case. And I'm not, what I often say here is I'm not a McDonald's drive-through. The kind of work we do on the T visa is very meaningful, thorough, careful work. As I said before, the stakes are much higher, and we need to make sure we prepare solid applications. I'm not in the business of sitting down and filling out forms. Me and my team, we have to go through case strategy. We have to make sure everything is right. I have multiple layers of review. So I usually have a timeline in mind, but it just depends on the case. Which we work as quickly as we can for the case type that we're working on. But we're not working fast to make any mistakes or make any cause an application to be deficient, which can create complications in itself. So keep that in mind. Here at the law firm, if you're looking for a McDonald's drive-through, that's not us. And keep in mind, if you do find somebody that rushes your application along, you're going to be in trouble. At some point, you're going to be in trouble. So right now is not the time we try to work as fast as possible, but we don't speed through it and disregard issues. I have been 8 months now, and my husband still don't want to put in for citizenship for me to get through. So give us a call and let's talk about the situation, to determine whether you qualify for an alternative way to get your papers. If your spouse is not taking the steps in your best interest, that's usually a red flag. Now, them not applying for citizenship may be a them problem and it's affecting you. But if they're intentionally mistreating you and not doing what they're supposed to do to stop you from getting your papers, that's mistreatment. If I'm a citizen, how do I provide sponsorship H-1B under my company? So there is a lottery. It depends on what your company, depends on who you're hiring under your company. But once we determine who you're hiring, their qualifications, whether they qualify for H-1B, then there's a lottery. So you register for the lottery. Once your employee is selected, then we go ahead and submit the H-1B petition. And once it's approved, they get to start working here a couple months. Usually they set the date to be around October to start working. Um, but keep in mind their deadline. So right now you have the H-1B registration. It's unlikely at this point you'd be able to meet the deadline. So you would have to wait for the next registration period. How can my spouse come here temporarily for visa while he awaits his visa interview in Ghana? So I answered that. Can you add your boyfriend to your T status if you have a T? No. So you have to be married. You have to be married. But that's another thing here. Let's talk about, because the whole point of this live is to talk about getting your legal status. The T visa also allows your spouse. So you have to be currently married, your children. If you're under 21, your sibling who's under 18, and your parents to get their legal status as well. So when you're approved, they get approved too. If they're outside of the country, they get a visa to come in. If you have an automatic extension for work permit, how long does it take to receive a new work permit card? It depends. I would say 6 months to 12 months to get the actual card. About to apply for AOS through marriage to US citizen. For affidavit of support, do you really need to have 3 years of tax returns? Current year is good. And what qualifies as assets that we can use? So this is definitely a little more detailed than I'd be comfortable giving online. But what I would say here, I'm going to give you some helpful information. When it comes to the affidavit of support, they want to know that you've applied for the past 3 years in tax returns. You usually have to give an explanation if you haven't, but they want to see the most recent tax return. That's going to be the most important. When it comes to assets, it's going to be, what do you own that has more value than you owe on it? Is there any value? If you have land, if you have retirement benefits, if you have savings in your bank account, those can be examples of assets that can be used to make up for any lack of income or money that you're making. Inderpal, thanks for the compliment. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jellica. Thanks so much for the compliment. I'm trying something new. Thank you. It's we. Thank you for your appreciation. Let's see. I see parents correction. I don't know, Joan Gray. I don't know if I answered your question. Why, if a child get adopted in the USA, he can't file for their right parents in the future? Right, because once a child is adopted, then adoption means the parents gave up their legal right to their children. They're no longer parents to that child in a legal sense. So that's why that child can't petition for their biological parents. I apply for husband. He's in Dominican Republic. I take SSI. That can affect the process. You know, but you do have to show that you're making. So SSI does count as income income, but you have to show you make sufficient income. So if the SSI isn't enough, you have to show that you have assets or have income from another source that can make up for that amount. I just heard from my T visa application after 19 months, got RFE. It's very anxious situation. Any words of encouragement? We've won on RFEs. So the encouragement here is the RFE. An RFE is usually a chance to overcome any doubts or questions or deficiencies in the application. So just focus on answering those questions. It might be as simple as they want a copy of your birth certificate or a copy of your current valid passport. So just work to answer the questions very specifically. Make sure you're focusing on answering whatever they're asking, and all the best. My prayers are with you, Michelle. But we've gotten approvals on RFEs, so thank you so much, Joan. Absolutely, share the live so people know that I'm here giving this information that can empower you. I'm a citizen. What if someone was adopted and took the USA? They can. Okay, so I answered that about filing for parents. If you are adopted, you wouldn't be able to. So is the case running after the notice number is received or after the biometrics? After the biometrics is a part of the process. So once you get what's called a receipt notice, it means your case is in process. How long does I-212 waiver take to approve for U.S. citizen spouse living in Jamaica? So we're seeing about 2 years right now. So anywhere from a year and a half to 2 years. Are you in the States? Absolutely. Yes, we are. If there's somebody that's calling you as me, please know it's a scam. Okay. We don't call anybody on WhatsApp. We don't take Cash App. We don't take Zelle. We are very specific about what we're charging. We send you an invoice. We have our clients sign documents online, acknowledging the consult and our policies. So please do not give anybody any money who's calling you on WhatsApp, to demand money or telling you they'll start the case without doing the free initial evaluation, right? Because we do a free initial evaluation that's, it's detailed. So we're definitely going to do that before we go ahead and before we make you talk to the attorney. And then it's only after you speak to the attorney that we say, okay, let's get started. And we send you a retainer agreement. We send you an invoice. So you definitely know that you're represented by ST Law Office. It has come to my information that there are a lot of scammers. I personally checked, and I saw about 4 different profiles on TikTok with my picture on it. And it's so frustrating because I've reported it multiple times and they don't take it down. But yet, if I say one thing and I get complaints on it, they are quick to shut down my page. But here I am now. People are imitating me and they're taking people's money. So please make sure the number, these pages I'm on, this is my official page. So don't go anywhere else. Don't give anybody else any money. Don't call any other number, but the number that is this law firm's number, which is 561-405-4889. If we always use that number, but sometimes we use numbers after you talk to us. We'll text you reminders from another number, but you'll definitely know that text is coming from us once you've spoken to us. So please, if anything has happened to you where somebody has taken your money, please call us and let us know so that we have reported it to law enforcement, but we need more information to be able to provide about what's happening. So please, there's one on Instagram that has 3,000 followers. That's a scammer. And we know for a fact that individual, who I think they said is located in another country, has taken money from people. So please just be mindful. Can we get T visa without FBI report? It's possible. It depends. Maybe it might be another place that you report to. Maybe if you face trauma so severe that you really are afraid or too traumatized to deal with any kind of reporting, there is a way to get around that. With us, with our clients, what we do is we work confidentially to make sure our clients are safe and are doing this in a confidential manner. So we really help our clients through the process. Hence, also the time, as I said before, T visa is complicated. Don't treat it like an application that is, don't do it at home by yourself, basically. Okay, it's a complicated process that has different parts to it. And it's, even though I'm the attorney, it's changing every day. I still have to attend meetings with my colleagues to be able to just make sure that I'm fully up to date on everything that's happening with the T visa process, So that is how intense that T visa process can be. Of course, it's intense for us, but we make it less stressful for our clients through the process. Is it a problem if newlyweds don't live together when applying for I-485, U.S. citizen and TPS holder? Yes, it can be a problem. It can be a very big problem. It can start as a small problem that turns into a big problem if you don't know how to approach it properly. So get in touch with us and let's talk about it. Can the third person sponsoring for the affidavit of support use their business tax filing instead of individual tax filing? So at the end of the day, they're going to want to see what you make. So even a business tax filing is not going to be, it can prove you have a business, but they want to see your individual income after, because business, you file your business tax and then it flows through to your, and it depends, right? Because it depends on what kind of business entity you own. If you own, for example, an S Corp, then you file the business tax, but then it still has to flow into your income through an individual tax return. That's what they want to see at the end of the day. All right. I think I went over many of your questions. I am going to work to be back tomorrow. But as I said, as I always say, because from day to day, I have to go with the flow at times because of how busy it is. But look out for like, subscribe, follow. That's the key here. You'll get notification I'm live when I'm live, and if you're available, hop on with me and we can talk through like we did today. I'll go through ways to get your status legally here in the US. That's what I've been doing. That's what the firm works on, and I can continue to answer those questions. We talked about a couple today. So family-based, E2 treaty investor, VAWA, T visas. The U visas are another one if you've been the victim of a crime like domestic violence, stalking, any kind of crime or violence, then get in touch with us, because a U visa is another way similar to the T visa that you can get your papers. If you've been the victim of that kind of crime, whether you have reported it or not, it's worth exploring the U visa as well. So thank you for your time. Thank you for these great questions. I will be back tomorrow, hopefully, but please go ahead and follow me so you know when I'm live, so I can hop on and answer your questions. Have a good one. Bye-bye.